An old World War II train car is probably one of the last things that you would expect to see turned into a tiny house, and yet here in Fort Collins, Colorado, that is exactly what has happened. And today, we're going to take a look. Hey Annabel, how's it going?
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. G'day Dan, how's it going, mate?
Good, welcome.
This is just such a cool project. This is actually an old World War II train car, isn't it?
Yeah, we got it from a guy in Nebraska, a salvage wrecking company. Just had it on his lot and found it, and I rang him up and I said, if I pay full price, can you get it to me? And he said, we'll work something out. So here it is, and it's become our little dream oasis.
It certainly has, because you can see that the nuts and bolts of it are the train carriage, but what you've actually created with it is something really quite remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we love kind of quirky things and things that are a little less traditional. We have been on the road a lot. We're both performers. We come from the performing world, and we've gone through our share of breakdowns and this and that. And this one, I was like, I just want to build something that's not going anywhere. Don't have to worry about the weight. Don't have to worry about things rattling around.
And before we talk more about this home, I want to talk more about the property and what's around us here, because you've got some really beautiful gardens, lots of really artistic features. Your fence is incredible. Those garden trolls are absolutely remarkable. Can you talk to me about what is going on in this place and how you came to be here?
Yeah, so I always loved this part of town. I went to school in Fort Collins, and I think a big part of what's kind of driven everything is just we wanted to create something, kind of just create some beauty, you know, beauty in the world.
And as Dan said, we've been on the road for quite some time in our respective careers, and it's nice to be in one spot instead of creating lots of small areas of magic. See how much magic we can create in one place.
Now, you've made this really interesting modification to the roof. Can you tell me about this?
Right, so we have this crazy neighbor that lives down the street, crazy brilliant, and he gave me kind of the courage to think about things a little bit differently. Don't be too precious. Don't be afraid to cut a huge hole in the perfectly fine roof of a piece of history. And so he gave me the courage to just go ahead and do it. Just cut a hole in the roof, and I built this up so we could have more light, but also being able to kind of close the windows and have the privacy when we want it.
One of the things that I really love about what you've done here with this project is how you've really left the history and the character of this carriage intact.
Yeah, so that's part of kind of the idea, is wanting to make it feel like it's been here a long time, just because it feels like it has that history that's kind of just built into it. And then when we worked on the inside, we tried to keep some of that alive, like it's been here, you know, and you don't see the modern, as much of the modern conveniences, but you really feel like you're somewhere special.
You certainly do. Well, the exterior is just really intriguing, and I cannot wait to see what you've done inside. Can we take a look?
Yes.
After you.
After you.
Wow, this place is cool. Walking in here, it's pretty enchanting, isn't it?
Yeah, we're kind of romantics and theatrical at heart, and artists, so we kind of wanted to create an experience when you walk in here.
And have it to be a whole world unto itself.
Can you talk to me about the style and the design and what you've created in here?
Yeah, so I kind of went with that theme of, you know, keeping the historical thing. We wanted to make it feel like this interior was kind of the original in a way. And so I got some wood that I kind of helped age a little bit and roughed up, and it was just odds and ends, but I went with that like rail car paneling, like a box car or something, and then got this old tin ceiling that you'd find like in an old hotel or something. And some of the other tin I got was out of a prison in Nebraska, and so that's kind of like an interesting little touch, a little bit of history.
Now, what you've done in here with adding the second roof, it really has just completely opened up this inside space and just really made it feel so much more open. Because I imagine if this roof line just continued along, it would have felt very enclosed in here.
Right. Yeah, and that was a big part of it, to bring more light in. But then we also get to see all the trees all around us, and it feels like we're almost like in a forest.
Yeah, you can lie in bed and just look straight up into the tree line. It just feels, again, magical.
And then looking up as well, it's lovely how you've got all of these beautiful hanging plants and the light features.
Yeah, we kind of wanted to create like a greenhouse effect with this open space ahead that, you know, it feels like the ceiling's a little taller. Like you can let your imagination go a little bit more. And I think we've just scratched the surface on it. We've been collecting these old swag lamps, and we put these pumice stones up here to kind of draw New Zealand back into the space, that being Annabel's hometown. And we want to have plants growing all over the place, have, you know, light fixtures, so you look up and you feel like you're in in like a atrium that's like a plant greenhouse, you know, art installation, you know.
And then we've got a lovely table and chair set over here.
Yeah, it's a dinner for two. We kind of like the spaces that you do have, they're fully functioning spaces. And so we didn't incorporate a lot of fold away things, but, you know, this is set, it's like permanently in there. And it was a cheap oak table that I found. You could tell it was somebody's work table or something. And I just like that little bit of history that this brings along to it.
And then it kind of has that rail car dining room feel with the plush chairs and...
Yeah, and the sconce above,
yeah.
The swag lamp.
And then the tin behind here on the walls, this is lovely.
Yeah, so, I mean, some of these patches are actually just for fun. I actually patched down below an actual hole, and I liked how that looked, so I'm like, oh, we need a few more patches here. So we put a patch here and a patch here just to kind of remind you that you're in a train car that's from the 40s.
A solid hunk of metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is this space insulated?
Yeah, I did a spray foam insulation, and then I went ahead and cut a huge hole in the roof, and I had to cut all that insulation out. But I made this little lip on here so that I could put a door up here in the wintertime, a glass door, and then only have to heat this lower area and don't have to heat this whole space because it's vented up to the top, so all the heat would just escape right out, which is great for the summer, but for the winter time, you want to keep that heat in. So I thought that was kind of a nice solution to be able to just close this off, still have the light coming through, but then you keep the heat inside.
And what you've done here with the glass bottle light panel is really interesting. Can you tell me how you did this?
Yeah, so it started with that idea of the Earthship homes where they have the glass bottles. Like, I want one of those too, and I don't have to worry about the weight because it doesn't go anywhere. So Annabelle and I found these antique mini bar bottles from the airlines from the 50s and 60s.
Some of them were still full.
Some of them were still full.
So we had to empty them.
That's the hard part of the job.
They still had their labels on them. They were labeled like United Airlines and all the tags and stamps and things. And so we incorporated them into the bottle wall. We put a LED panel behind it so we can have them actually lit during the day or at night. And we put this over it to kind of soften it a little bit.
And then behind you over here, we've got this wonderful kitchen that you've built. And I really love that sink.
Yeah, this was kind of like the score of the century. A guy had all these cabinets and he only wanted the top ones. So he was getting rid of this. He didn't want any money. I'm like, oh, I guess this transaction's done. I just loaded it up and off I went. And so one of the great things about the sink is you can wash up your dishes and everything can just drip dry, and then it goes right into the sink. And this can slide so you can kind of stash your dirty dishes if you're in a hurry and no one will even see that they're there.
And then this folds up and can be stashed away. And then we've got the...
And then you just have a lot more prep space.
Yeah.
But you still have like the double sink. I'm a big fan of having, you know, big functional things as opposed to trying to cram everything into a space, but everything's really modified and cramped. So I like having big functional things, but less of them.
And it's great to see you've got all the necessary appliances, the toaster oven here, you've got the hob and a fridge, everything you need.
Right, yeah, this is kind of a temporary setup. Eventually we might want to get gas because cooking with gas is so much nicer. But this does the job for now, and it was $20. It's one of those sacrifices we made to make it happen a little bit quicker.
And then what lies beyond the door that's behind you there?
Like I said, anything that we build, we want to have a fully functioning version of it. So it's a full bathtub and bathroom.
Very cool. Can we check it out?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Oh my goodness. This is lovely. All of this tile work is just beautiful.
Yeah, so it's kind of like entering into a different space from the rest of the train car. Like over the bed we have metal, and then you open into the kitchen and it's like open air, and then this is kind of like water. It's the tile, it's the mermaid scales on the wall and the mirrored ceiling. It just feels like a whole nother world.
Yeah, and then that fireplace that you've got there is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and there's a little secret in there. That's our medicine cabinet. So if you look inside, we've got a charging station for the electric toothbrush. It's a little theatrical and maybe not the most practical, but it's pretty fun. And then in this vent, it actually functions as a bathroom fan. So there's a fan in here that'll just draw the air up and out, so we get some air movement in here as well.
That is just so clever. Forget about practicality. I absolutely love it. And the way that you've got the light feature in there that actually really makes it look like a real fire. Yeah. When you're having a bath, that just must be so nice.
When you're having a bath in here and you've got your calm music on and you've got the little light and just all the lights are down low. Oh, it's just so lovely to be in here when you're having a bath.
Yeah, and then we had to add this giant chandelier here with the shells. It's multifunctional because it also creates the sound of like, it transforms you and takes you to another place, and you can kind of see it cascading down over you. It's got like these little bubble shapes, and then above it, you see the reflection of it, and it kind of looks like a jellyfish or something.
And then practically in here, this is obviously still a full functioning bathroom. You've got the toilet and a vanity there, everything you need.
Yeah, we wanted to get a flushing toilet. If we do have guests, we didn't want them to have to figure out how to do the composting toilet, and we were able to just hook it right up to the septic tank, so it ended up working out great.
And you've only just now finished this project, haven't you?
Right, we've only spent 2 nights in here so far, and we're learning what we still need to do, and it's kind of, fun to be able to actually use it and then to think about being in the space other than just working on it.
Now that I'm in here as well as another person, then more ideas are starting to come. Oh, it would be really neat if we did this. And it's like those finishing touches that just kind of bring it fully to completion.
And what was the cost of completing this project?
Well, that's one of our things we're also not good at, is keeping receipts. So
it's part of the artistic license.
I get it.
But we joked, we're like, what if somebody dropped $200,000 on the table? Would you sell it? And we're like, well, we'd have to think about it. But I'd say between 25 and 30,000,
including the actual train car itself.
This is a really fantastic result for that amount of money. Well done.
Thanks.
Having built a place as unique and artistic as this, there must just be such a tremendous sense of accomplishment tied up in here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we've gone through the whole roller coaster of what are we doing? Does this make sense? And then there's those little accomplishments along the way, of course, little discoveries and little things. But having it to this point and actually being able to use it and having a place for people to stay when they visit us, it feels amazing.
Yeah.
We're trying to create a little bit of a retreat. I think both of us, even though we're performers, we're pretty introverted. And it's so nice to have a space that we could actually put some love into and lay a foundation for some opportunity and create something kind of beautiful to put into the world.
This really is such an incredible place that you've created here. I love how warm and welcoming and filled with all these beautiful artistic touches it is. Thank you so much for sharing your home with me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Dan and Annabel have created something truly special here. Who would have thought that an old World War II train car could be transformed into such a magical tiny home? Being in this space feels like being thrust into a completely different world, and it really is something truly remarkable.